Our next story is about a pageant that turned political. I'm talking about the 70th edition of Miss Universe. Yes, it's still taking place, the pandemic notwithstanding. The pageant was lit up with colourful protests, with contestants using the limelight to unveil messages about political and social issues. The messages of 3 such contestants stood out. The first one was by Miss Singapore, Bernadette Bell. She strode down the ramp wearing an outfit inspired by the colours of Singapore's national flag and a message that read, "Stop Asian Hate." The second was by Miss Uruguay, Lola de los Santos, who showed support for the LGBTQ community with a rainbow-themed outfit that read, "No more hate, violence, rejection and discrimination." The third and the most talked about, you could say, was Miss Universe Myanmar, Thuzar Wint Luin, who used a scroll to express solidarity with the people of a country. The message on the scroll read, "Pray for Myanmar." Like I said, it was a politically charged pageant. All 3 messages shared are equally important, there is no doubt. But the one from Myanmar is making most headlines. It's been more than 100 days since the military coup, and the situation in Myanmar is progressing from bad to worse. More than 790 people have died, but the anti-coup demonstrations have not stopped. Our next report tells you what's happening in the country.
Okay, up next.
At first, it seemed like an ordinary ramp walk. It ended up as an extraordinary display of courage. Pray for Myanmar. This was Thuzar Wint Luin's message to the world as she unveiled a scroll during the national costume segment of Miss Universe 2021. Luin did not make it to the last round of the pageant, but she won the award for the costume category. For standing up for the rights of her people. Luin is just one among dozens of celebrities, actors, athletes and influencers who have been vehemently opposing the actions of Myanmar's military junta.
I decided to reject any participation to the Tokyo Olympic Games under the auspices of the Myanmar Olympic Committee because I believe the Myanmar Olympic Committee is a puppet Olympic committee of the military regime in Myanmar that has been accused of genocide.
At least 790 people have been killed by security forces since the February 1st coup. Over 5,000 people have been arrested. Out of this, 4,000 are still under detention. But none of this has deterred the spirit of Myanmar's youth, which continues to carry out large-scale demonstrations across Myanmar in the hope of restoring democracy.
The junta might like people to think that things are going back to normal because they're not killing as many people as they were before, and there weren't as many people on the streets as before. But definitely the feeling, that we're getting from talking to people on the ground is that definitely, the resistance has not yet subsided. It is just no longer as visual as before.
It's been more than 3 months. The resistance is far from fizzling out. The army junta is struggling to impose its rule. The ongoing protests, the civil disobedience movement, and battlefield losses to ethnic guerrilla armies are raising questions on whether the coup has failed. Observers say it has.
I think by definition it has failed. The fact that there is continued resistance to it and the entire country is pretty much united against the military, and it's been 3 months of chaos, means that the military seriously miscalculated their own country's response to this naked grab for power.
Internationally, the pressure on the army junta persists. From the European Union to the United States, almost every leading country has imposed targeted sanctions on Myanmar in the hopes of cutting down the army's operations and forcing the generals to change course. Back in South Asia, ASEAN leaders are pressurizing the army to restore democracy.
The situation in Myanmar is not acceptable and should not continue. Violence needs to stop, and there must be a return to democracy, stability and peace.
But reversing the coup won't be an easy task. For democracy to return in Myanmar, the army's unchecked power will have to be contained. Even if this fundamental shift is achieved, there is no guarantee that it would sustain. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.